big thing I want to see, more assertive jungler, bigger ganking threat, whether it's the likes of the Rek'Sai, just go to that Jarvan that's shown you so much success, Huey. The Nuna's not working out.
No, it's not. And not going to be going towards the Rek'Sai. In fact, it is going to be King that banned that away. But wasting no time is Snake. Gragas going to hit the bench first, then Maokai and Alistar. So not wanting to first pick the Maokai is an interesting one for Flandre. Of course, loves to play that champion. But once again, going to see Flandre mixing it up just a bit. And we're waiting to see what King decide to ban away next. Azir might actually hop onto the bench. We'll see what is going to happen here from King. But Crystal never going to see Kalista. It's just not happening, I don't think.
I don't think it's going to happen. They're not even picking it when it's available. Honestly, it might just be a Sivir first pick again. Doesn't really matter if you're struggling, if you have such a solid champion. But Hecarim making it through the picks and bans does really price King into picking up this now. You mentioned that Kohler had a lot of impressive performances last split. He struggled a bit on the champion this split, and it requires that coordination that we're speculating just seems to be absent from the play of King. But at least the lane matchup, it's pretty good.
Yeah, not too bad. Of course, we did see Zatai do fantastic things. Of course, hasn't been back to his Frozen Mallet Black Cleaver just yet.
Give him time.
Yeah, well,
he's playing Rise top, so yeah, just really playing the meta.
He's gone
picks
back
instead.
to the meta picks, Papa Smithy. Oh dear. No, Kohler is going to lock away the Gnar though. Back to the teleport smite. And Huey back on what was a very ineffective Lee Sin from yesterday. We'll see whether he can redeem himself. It is going to give Crystal Sivir once more. Of course, wasn't necessarily the most important part of the team comp.
But look at those three champions. If they do lock in the Sejuani, Sivir Hecarim has done a whole lot of winning across the world, but particularly in the LPL. If Crystal's a bit out of form, and again, I'm speculating to that, but still, doing something unfamiliar this split and playing those team-orientated picks like the Sivir Hecarim Sejuani as one hell of a team fight comp put together in the first three picks.
It most certainly is, and we'll see what they are going to put in to, of course, the mid lane and the support role, but they've got plenty of options for both of those. Of course, only Alistar hitting the bench as far as those supports are concerned. Nautilus there, Thresh there as well. Ella can play anything. Annie, Janna. Look, he has multiple options. Do they fight fire with fire? Is it into, let's decide that we are going to try and go against this heavy engaged comp and either go with something that's more disengaged champions that want a team fight?
Well, they've opted into the Lee Sin versus Sejuani matchup. They've opted into high lane pressure. They've got Gnar, who's always going to be a winning lane matchup against Hecarim, barring something disastrous happen, as we've seen, unfortunately, a bit too commonly in the last couple of days. And they've got the high-pressure jungler in Lee Sin that still might look to build the Cinderhawk, which, again, is an ideal itemization and really pigeonholes himself out of even mid-game damage. It's only going to be mid-game tankiness into late-game super tankiness. And your purchase may vary on how important the peel is there. Crystal's showing the Draven, but again, not going to be a Draven. They have a Sivir already. Sivir mid hasn't been a thing since CLG in Season 1, so sadly not going to be the case.
That was a very different Sivir as well, ladies and gentlemen. I believe that would have been...
Ricochet!
Yeah, super Ricochet with a Bloodthirst of Warmogs and stuff like that.
But I mean, they need lane power to make this comp work once you opt into the Lee Sin. And that's why not go for the likes of LeBlanc? Ensure that whatever you're picking in the mid lane is going to be at best 50-50 against the LeBlanc, with the LeBlanc always having outplay potential with all her maneuverability. Thresh also makes the bot lane even stronger. Suddenly, lots of gank options for the Sejuani, especially because she comes over to 6. But what will Kong go for? No Janna and Fizz. Fizz is going to be a risk. Mid lane Rise, though.
Yep, that's what's going to be locked in, doing his best Zatai impression there, but from the mid lane this time. So, of course, not going to suffer in a lane swap.
Let's give a man his due. He deserves it. That's his best Dade impression. Dade loves mid lane Rise.
Does he love new iteration of mid lane Rise, though? Because I'm giving that to Zatai at the moment.
It seems like a really tough champion to play in the mid against a champion like LeBlanc because, again, now you've got skill shots. You can't even do the targeted trade. It used to be a pretty good matchup because you naturally built tanky. And, again, the moment they removed the silence, so the Sigil of Silence turned into the Sigil of Malice, the moment that you max, of course, the distortion, you could actually use your Rune Prison when the LeBlanc would distort and get very good trades in. Suddenly now, with skill shots being involved, going to be difficult to ensure that you register all that damage, but such is the matchup, and I'm interested to watch the mid lane in particular.
Yeah, and is it sort of about Korn now conceding this lane when they had sort of the early pressure in the jungle? Is that a problem here for King?
you don't necessarily have to concede the lane. It might evolve to be that way, but Rune Present is still a targeted instant cast CC, and Lee Sin brings a lot of early damage. I think the LeBlanc is really going to have to consider the jungle matchup and see, okay, the obvious lane to snowball is mid. This is the only point of failure is if Ryze somehow snowballs off of Use LeBlanc. It's a possibility, but again, a difficult one.
Yeah, and we've seen Use LeBlanc do fantastic things in the past. We'll see whether it is going to be the same this time around, as we are, of course, almost onto the Rift. And look, looking into the other lanes, things are fairly standard across the board. Of course, Hecarim not going to do necessarily as well against the Gnar, but can jungle a little bit more effectively. Does that mean that Snake might look for a lane swap? I
think it's always possible. Sivir also opting out of the lane swap and going for a fast push is a potential. Again, lane swap, 2v2, I think anything's fine.
Well, we'll see what happens as we hop onto the Rift. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. King versus Snake for round 2. Ignore the zeros at the top of your screen. It is, in fact, Snake in the lead, 1-0. They are going to be able to take down the ward as well. First CS going over to Crystal, so early lead here for Snake.
All the zeros, but not the zero on the roster for Snake, for King, unfortunately.
Oh, dear.
That's the zero they need, because the zero in the win column certainly not working out for them.
Yeah, they do have a zero. It's just unfortunately not where they want him.
Not in the support role.
No, it's not in the support role. It's in the wins column. Not great. Huey and Cola hanging around this blue buff. Going to start that one off, looking for potential double jungling, as there is a horse towards the top side of the map. So might mean that there's not going to be too much aggressive movement this game. Too many of these lane swaps to come around. And see already, so there's deep vision. So King are going to know if this lane swap does occur. Kings are down on that ward. And I believe... I don't think they got spotted.
They're spotted right now, and if Name and Sync Dream go back, they will miss at least a bit of a minion wave. So yes, it is going to be a successful lane swap on the blue side. You can tell because, of course, the bot lane has gone away from their usual spot in the bot and moved to the top side. So blue side lane swap means that Hecarim can just go for his jungle follow. You can see, didn't take any potions, so is very happy to go back and get a completed item, maybe even a machete, if he gets enough camps with this smite, and just start jungling.
Yeah, and I think this might actually help out in the mid lane here as well for you, who now will be on a little bit more of an island because Huey's going to have to take care of Cola around the jungle. The
one worry you have is that if the 3-man gank comes into the mid lane, specifically from Lee Sin and Gnar, maybe there's going to be some kill pressure. But in general, as you mentioned, isolated mid lane matchup in a counter matchup for Ryze, a very difficult one for him, especially after the rework, meaning you don't get as much guaranteed damage every time you distort forward. Should be happy times for Snake.
Yeah, shouldn't be too bad. Collar and Huey, though, are going to be able to take down this Rift Scuttler. King have been focusing on the Scuttle Crabs quite effectively. Collar actually going to lock that one down.
The Rift Coward?
The Rift Coward.
That's the official term.
Don't be rude, man.
It's seriously the official term.
Yeah, but Rift Scuttlers get killed all the time, and there's no need to rub it in.
But they don't fight back.
Exactly. They don't fight back. They're a passive people.
We shouldn't really enter into a bullying discussion now, should we?
I don't think so. I feel like this is a little bit too topical, as Korn is going to go in for a decent trade there onto you. Does pick up the Mimic.
It's one of the most fun interactions.
Oh, and you, though. Yeah. Another one's going to land. Korn now completely out of mana.
The one interaction I wanted to mention, of course, the Spell Flux bounces between the clone and the real LeBlanc, so it does do a lot of damage. So I like that, but he hit every one of his Qs, and if you hit all your overloads, turns out you do a lot of damage.
Yeah. Ryze still, of course, a consistent damage beast, able to lower his own cooldowns.
Ironically, not consistently, though, because you have to hit the skill shot.
Yeah. Yeah, so not a consistent
But if he was a consistently consistent mid lane beast,
well, is Korn a consistently consistent mid-laning beast on a consistently consistent champion is the consistent question.
And I would say consistently no.
Yes, you have. Ewan versus Korn, though, is working out okay now as you
they're looking for the turret dive.
Chomp down everything here as Ella wants to find a death sentence. Flandre, you're on 300 health, buddy. Probably don't want to be the one starting this fight, as Korn and Huey are going to be there to defend. Beast just going to head back to base saying he wants none of it.
Korn opting into a Sapphire Crystal with no sort of Ruby Crystal or any other health, uniquely, almost every champion opts into some sort of extra health at level 1, meant that there was always the third turret dive, the burst damage from the devastating charge, and the death sentence would have been enough. So smart of Rice to understand that he's consistently under threat, even under the turret.
Every time we say consistently now, I'm just going to laugh. Spell Flux, though, is going to go off once again, but you're probably going to be a little bit more careful in this lane.
Yeah, Corn's just going to go back, pick up the tier. At least he's picked up the first of what is going to be at least the tier into the Rod of Ages. Hard to say where he'll go in the build from there. People kind of debated, is it still... Are you still able to go more on the tanky side? Do you still have to... I feel like not enough builds have got past the Rod of Ages into Seraph stage that we haven't really seen any sort of consistency. Merc Tread's probably still going to be up to... I mean, against Beast on this Sejuani, almost a prerequisite. But where the build goes from there is what we don't know the answer to.
Yeah, and with the max of the Spell Flux now, is it sort of more of an option to go towards maybe an Abyssal Scepter instead of the tanky items? Because it was mentioned to me by Spawn yesterday, in fact, that cooldown reduction not quite as important on Rise. It's
just weird how he interacts with cooldown reduction, just with how he gets more than he used to. So absolutely, I do agree with you on that, Mug. I'm still waiting to see if it's going to be consistently the Spell Flux max or whether they will move towards some more Overload max. I feel like it's kind of an option when it comes to that. But you get so much flat Magic Pen shred through from the E especially that I do kind of like the Abyssal Scepter. We saw it a bit of the time on Rise, but you just couldn't fit it into the build as naturally as Spirit Visage, especially back in the day when we were talking about 20% cooldown reduction Spirit Visage.
Yeah. Beast was actually hiding behind the dragon there, as Crystal is going to be able to clear out this ward with that pink, and this is what happens when you've got multiple members on the bottom side of the map. You are able to grab that dragon control, but King, they're just moving around this map, destroying turrets left, right, and center. Flandre able to take down the cannon creep. Not sure whether he's even going to be able to clear these minions in time. This top lane turret well and truly under fire, and can Snake get around there to defend it, or are they going to lose a second in a matter of minutes?
I like the play from King. We don't see a lot of teams do this against the Hecarim now that the Smite has been the pickup, because Hecarim's being less accountable hasn't been as punishable because you pick up a lot more gold when you're rotating around the jungle. But if you engineer these situations where, especially pre-6 Flandre, is going to be an overextended lane with both top and bottom lane turrets down, Flandre's doing a lot of trade damage.
He's certainly doing a lot of trade damage. There's a devastating charge as well. Name almost falling down there, and the rocket's not going to be enough. And that was a 1v2 that Flandre did fantastically and does have teleport. But this might be another story of don't teleport to this lane, as Huey might actually be in trouble here as Beast has caught him out. But Lee Sin known for having a little bit more control this stage of the game. And Flandre does have the boots too. There's this devastating charge, but it's over the top of some chompers, and Snake effectively going to be able to at least defend this turret and take their own towards the bottom side.
I just love the fact that Flandre goes for those players where you're like, are you sure you can do this? But he knows his damage and his tankiness so well. He's able to judge situations where he was just a smidgen away from pulling off a solo kill 1v2.
Yeah, it was beautiful to see. We'll see whether he actually is able to secure that one, as there's what you mentioned, the fact that Rune Prison able to do some work here against even the sneaky LeBlanc.
Especially given that he'd already cleared out the minion wave, he was able to just ensure that the Q was going to hit because it was effectively point blank. The answering turret comes down, and because Jinx and Janna have rotated down bottom lane, they're not going to be able to pick up this very low health top lane turret.
Yeah, so that is going to be in quick succession. 2 turrets now for Snake, putting themselves almost 2,000 gold in the lead. You're going to be able to pick up this blue Sentinel now with the distortion over the wall. Grabs that one for himself, and that's absolutely fine. And we're talking about the fact that Korn has been, you know, trading very well here with the LeBlanc, but he's still falling riotously behind.
He's using all his mana to trade, so of course doesn't have it to clear waves, has very low base attack damage, so will struggle to last hit under turret. Was buffed over time as Flandre really wants to steal away this Crow.
Yep, he is going to be able to grab it there as well, and probably wants to kill Kohler at the same time. Doesn't waste too much of his mana on any of those rampages. Zap's going to come through. Crystal is going to stop that Howling Gale from doing anything with the spell shield. And are they going to steal a blue at the same time? King, once more, I mean, it was great. We saw them. They were pushing turrets. They were moving around the map. They were grabbing things. But now, it's once again looking like this King that doesn't quite know what to do next.
I'm just surprised they showed enough impetus to swap back. I don't know what was really forcing that swap, especially with the turret being so low. I speculate that maybe we've seen actually 1 or 2 teams play around low turret health and say, okay, will keep pushing in that lane. Now it's really easy to turret dive because the enemy top lane will be baited to staying under a turret. You can just auto-attack it twice and then still get the successful gank under turret. But instead, nobody's pressuring the Hecarim whatsoever on Huey.
Yeah, he's got caught by the death sentence, but Crystal not wanting to opt for anything there. I believe Boomerang was possibly on cooldown, which stopped them from wanting to go overly aggressive. Again, with a little bit of a CS advantage now as Kohler and Huey waiting around for what is a non-existent dragon. Now going to be able to clear out some vision, though.
Smart rotations equal, actually behind it. To be behind in the turret trade is just ludicrous to me, given how well they were rotating a moment earlier. And with all that hard pushing, they missed out on a lot of CS. And the CS differences between the carries and basically every role, I mean, we're talking double CS in top lane already.
Yeah, and it's not good when you've got the scaling advantage on the champion that's picking up more of the farm. Korn, you know, 30 CS behind here, does have the blasting one now. Decided to forego picking up that catalyst just for some extra damage. As you know, of course, Ryze is going to scale more, so it's not exactly ludicrous that he'd be behind in this early stage of the game, but he's behind by a very long way. In fact, Yu has been farming brilliantly on this LeBlanc.
And Cole is now caught between two builds. You really want to build the Frozen Mallet, even if it's a little bit late, to pressure this Hecarim to at least have that ability to make the Hecarim accountable in the 1v1 split push that will just inevitably happen between two teleport laners. But you look down at this Snake lineup, we're talking about Sejuani, Hecarim, Sivir. You have so many engage options in hard CC that if you just build into a selfish build, Founder's going to say, okay, I'm going to stop this split push and just keep team fighting, and you won't have team fight items to be able to team fight effectively. So it feels like there's no good smart purchase for Kohler, apart from maybe a Giant's Belt to round out this build.
Yeah, and the other thing that I really love about what Snake's doing here as well is the fact that, oh, as a chain going to land on top of the Q, mimicked Q action.
The mimicked Sigil of Malice.
Yeah, the mimicked Malicey Sigil. I like it a lot. I like Sigil of Silence a little bit more. I like alliteration. But no, what I was saying was the fact that Snake was rotating around to Kohler's lane every single time. You can see they're still there, forcing him into this horrible situation where he just can't pick up any farm.
He has 34 CS at 11 minutes. That is sad, sad times.
Yeah, that is not exactly the happiest Nah that we've ever seen.
He's turned a winning lane on paper. Snake's rotations have turned it into a losing lane because now 60 CS behind doesn't matter what the builds are.
Yeah.
You're just going to lose to both the experience and gold that Finder's been able to pick up. We already knew that LeBlanc will be winning this mid lane matchup against Ryze, and lo and behold, 40 CS is the advantage. Both solo lanes that we've just talked about are the cornerstones of Snake's recent wins, winning in a landslide fashion.
They are, and they're shoving up all of the lanes. They've got vision all over this map. 3 pink wards towards the top side, where Yu is continuing to now put pressure onto Korn, who's relegated to being underneath his inner turret. Kohler has found a sneaky lane here in order to pick up some farm for himself, but Snake just going to opt into taking the dragon away.
The moment you see a pickaxe on Kohler, you say it's team fight time, because what is this Nah going to do? Even if you're specifically managing your Nah rage bar so well, he's level 6 with a pickaxe. He has 1,000 health. He's basically a squishy himself. He's now really committed into a long laning phase, and now it's Snake's say, all right, it's team fight time.
Yep, the dragon is going to go down here as Beast locks that one up, and Flyndra just can't be bothered killing Name, I don't think.
He got stunned, so the angle probably wouldn't have been possible. Name has both summoners up, and he's pretty good still mechanically using those abilities, so no reason to rush. Kohler is so squishy.
Incredibly dead as well, as Yu is just going to take him down with a nice array of skill shots and spells.
I don't think you can build the pickaxe first. I can understand why you'd want to do it, but...
You can build it first if you're getting it at 5 minutes.
Sure, but if you're in this position...
Yeah, no.
If you build the pickaxe, literally you're telling the enemy team, that's just team fight, because he's got a pickaxe and not even a giant's belt. I think you go for the giant's belt, hope something good happens and you get snowballed towards your Frozen Mallet, but pigeonholing yourself on the damage side against the immense team fight that comes through from Snake. Hecarim, Sivir, enough said.
It's a 70 CS lead now as well here for the Hecarim. What you're trying to do is build items that can beat a Hecarim in lane, but you're never, ever, ever going to beat this Hecarim in lane, ever.
No.
It's just not happening.
Don't need much analysis to say that 70 CS ahead at 14 minutes.
Equals good.
Pretty good.
Yeah, if you're the Hecarim. Equals bad if you're the Nah. Kohler continues to try and find any semblance of farm pull himself back into this game. Rod of Ages is completed by Korn, though. Decent timing, actually. Has managed to catch himself back up just a little bit, but still behind by about that 30 CS mark. And you, with that sort of sweet spot of items, does have the needlessly large rod and, of course, that 80 AP item in the Morellonomicon this time around. So he's able to clear out a lot of these back line minions very effectively. He's going to steal away a blue buff as well, which that's very handy for.
Rise in a level 7 means that literally the only camps that King can take are the minion waves that push into their turrets. They can't contest anything. Early power spike in LeBlanc has to be respected. Hecarim is massively strong, even though it's only 14 minutes and he's one item into what will be, no doubt, a very powerful build. Civ is going to catch any rotations that come through. And when you're talking about gank brushes from the AD carry, 15 minutes, level 8 Sivir in a gank brush. Man.
Yeah, Death Sense onto Huey as well. He wants to try and safeguard somewhere, but the ultimate point blank. Oh, you just going to mimic him to death with that distortion. And yep, that is a sign of what's been happening in this game. Snake with full control of everywhere on the map. And they can set up things like that even on the slip release in.
Top team versus a bottom team, Atlas. Snake still, even after losing 2-0 to EDG, are going to be one of our top teams. I think top 5 is very, very achievable now that they've upgraded in a strict sense in mid. It's lovely seeing a Snake lineup with a convincing LeBlanc player. That's not something they could ever have fielded in the spring split. But Yu brings that other side to his play that, honestly, a lot of fans don't appreciate. You saw a lot of the Ziggs games from him. We're going to see a replay coming through, apparently, of a death.
Yeah, Sync Dream, in fact, I believe died in the top lane.
At some point. That was actually 1-0, so that was a while ago.
Right. Was that the same game? I don't know. Not sure.
Production staff just trying to make things interesting for the viewers, I think.
Well, I mean, the game at the moment not exactly looking like King have too much of a hope. So if we miss out on a little bit of what's going on, I have a feeling most of us can infer what is going to happen, as 6,000 gold is the lead at 16 minutes in. And Papa Smithy, I can see you sitting there sort of a little bit dejected, wondering what has happened to this definitely not Star Royal Club lineup. And
I love competitive high-level League of Legends. This is not that.
Oh, well, it soon will be. Of course, you know, Insect hoping to make his way back onto the lineup. There's the On the Hunt popped as Huey does land a Sonic Wave. Cola is going to get flayed back, though, forced to use the Flash. Death Sentence not going to find the mark. And Snake just going to clear out this bottom wave as Yu actually taking a lot of damage. Korn flashing after him as well as the chains land. Ignite is down, but... yeah. Oh, Super Mega not going to kill you, Rocket. Sails past you.
That was a lot of flat AD, so that would have been close. It looks like 500 health, so probably would have lived, but still, good communication to sidestep that one.
Yeah. Communication from both sides, of course. Nami at least knew to throw it.
How did it go so wrong for King? They were smartly rotating. They got the first turret. They chipped down that outer turret that's been at 100 health for literally the last 10 minutes of this game. Fandre's in a unanswered split push because who's going to answer it?
I honestly think that, as well, the fact that Flandre went aggressive against the bottom lane and then they never went back into the top side of the map, it's been since then that this game has gone horrifically wrong for King.
But they wouldn't have been, like, they would have been surprised by that aggression, but everything was under the control for Name. He had his summoners up. He would have been able to get away. It's just really peculiar that they never re-rotated and they didn't actually get anything done when they moved. That's why I said, what's the impetus for swapping back? That was the question that I still don't know the answer to. I thought it was going to lead to turret dives, but they've never put literally any pressure on the top side. I don't even think Na's been up there. Yeah.
Well, he tried to go up there. I believe he was zoned away from an entire creep wave of 5 and then was forced to go back to base and then has since then lived in the bottom lane.
It's 8,000 gold at 18 minutes and almost nothing's happened.
No. 3-0 in kills. And normally when you see a landslide like this, it's generally because everyone's been dying. But it's not the case. It's the fact that someone's managed to get ahead. In this case, it's Flandre. And because of that...
there's a head and almost 100 CS. In fact, over 100 CS. My
110.
mathematics...
yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of gold.
Is the reaction from Papa Smithy when he's ahead by 3... what? Okay, just need to make sure. Yeah, that's 3.5 thousand gold.
So let's go macro a little bit, because the micro of this particular game is depressing. King, in their lineup swaps across the whole Royal Club organization, now have become King. They shed Godlike. Godlike is actually on RNG with Let Me
Yep.
And who's the third? Sky, of course, the former King top laner. I feel like...
Who actually played yesterday.
I feel like you need someone to pressure Cola. I assume they have a top lane sub, but Godlike played and did just fine as a role player when he came in for, what, 2 or 3 best of 2s for Starhorn Royal Club last split?
Yeah.
Cola's been very poor this split. Honestly, Korn, of the duo, because Korn and Cola kind of just etched in your memory. Very similar names, have been playing together for a long time.
Oh my goodness, Sync Dream's going to get caught by that. They knew, they had vision, and yet King's still going to head straight into that one. No one going to die on the side of Snake, but they are going to back away as there was some decent return burst. But Sync Dream, man, I haven't seen a Janna die that quickly in a very long time.
Yeah, Hecarim has no reason to come in, might even be able to get a back off and get the home guard teleport, and King really want to take this tower that's literally taking no damage.
Yep, teleport in from Flandre, though. He's
go.
from the top side as Ella is going to land the Death Sentence. There's the double flake. Korn just going to get destroyed. Name picks up Beast, though, as Cola looking to try and get some form of Nah, as he's not going to get there. He tried to cast it, but just going to be lines on the ground as he dies. And Huey, he's going to manage to at least get back to base, pick up some health. But King, they can't pick fights, not now that they're 11,000 gold behind.
And they didn't pick a fight, Atlas. They just accepted what happened. Name threw out the Super Mega Death Rocket and got out at full health and half mana because he knew no semblance of a competitive fight could happen.
Yeah.
Finally, it'll feel a bit sheepish that he had to use this teleport to just gallop up to the top lane as that robot unicorn horse. And pick up more CS because, you know, 123. It's building.
It is building, continuing to build as well as Cola. He's not picking up anything. He's making his way towards the top lane. But Flandre doesn't even want Huey to be able to take away.
Let's play a game.
Okay.
Will Cola finish the Frozen Mallet this game?
Ooh.
He's close to it.
He's very close. I think he only needs the combine, doesn't he?
It looks like it.
Yeah, well, look, he's about to pick up this wave of CS. I think he will.
All right.
I think he will.
I'm going to go with no, just to be contrarian.
Yep, no, I like it. It's good to have both sides. But I believe in you, Cola. I believe you can do it.
What is Frozen Mallet at 21 minutes?
Nothing, I believe, is, before you finish the question, I think nothing is what it does.
Is it good against Frozen Heart, Spectre's Cow, Home Guard, Ninja Tabby, Kindle Gem, Alice?
That's like saying, is a Doran's Blade
You've
good
asked
against
questions
the
like
Trinity
that before.
Force?
I'm just posing the important questions for the viewers.
Oh, okay.
How would you characterize? He's got it now. It's locked in.
Yeah, see, I won
So
the
you
bet.
win.
I win the bet. Unfortunately.
Snake win the video game.
Yeah, they most certainly do. And there is almost, yes, like you mentioned, Spirit Visage on top of the Frozen Heart and the Cinderhog. That is just such a ridiculously large amount of a lead for Flandre. Because I think it's all about the amount of money that you have to put into your items there, Papa Smithy, just to answer your original question. So the fact that he's still buying said amount of money's worth of items means that he's still doing stuff. As long as they're relevant statistics, it's not buying cooldown reduction on the likes of a Yasuo, something like that.
I really want to see the 1v1 matchup between Frozen Mallet Nah and 5,000 items Hecarim.
Get him some more slots, ladies and gentlemen. We got to see 5,000 items Hecarim. How many of those items aren't unique? How many can you just stack on top of one another? Do you get to a point where you can only buy Doran's items? Oh, actually, here's the fight breaking out as Cola. He's down to very, very low health. Flandre just ults forward, but picks up a Chomper, and you're going to finish the kill in the end. Cola going to die. There's the boomerang across Yui as well. Safeguard's out of the way, but into his death. Name takes a whole lot of damage from I don't even know where as Yu secures the kill onto corner. Double for the LeBlanc, able to sneakily get around this team fight and lock down some of these. And look, 3 members dead. Snake are going to break the base. Sync Dream's going to explode. Oh, almost. You're just going to auto-attack him to death in the end. And that's an unofficial triple kill there for the 7-0-2 LeBlanc.
15,000 gold at 23 minutes. On this new patch in 2015, it's so much harder to build up these gargantuan gold leads with the fact that Dragon no longer gives that global gold to the team, but just a massive lead for 23 minutes. Every lane winning. 7-0-2, so quelling any questions on whether use Assassin play. Only the chains away from being able to pick up the quick burst onto the Jinx and Snake. Got some gold to spend.
Yeah, I think they do probably have some money to spend here as Beast picks himself up Cloth Armor and the Giant's Belt. That's a full Void Staff there for you, who will probably be able to avoid using any skill shots next time he wants to take Name out. It might just be one Mimic Distortion, and that will be fine. That will deal with it.
And we will not get any more information on a completed Rise build because it's not going to complete any more items.
Man, this needs to get to a point
Here we
where
go.
we see the late game rises. Flandre is going to teleport right into the back of King. Sonic Wave going to land, but he doesn't even have the devastating charge anymore. Oh my goodness, he gets kicked out, ults back over, finds a Sync Dream as Huey's going to melt in the hands of Crystal. Flandre against 3 members. Spirit of Dread was saving his life, but man... Okay.
Look, the Frozen Mallet did a lot of work there. Between the Frozen Mallet and the Inhibitor turret, there was actually enough slow to dissuade him from just ignoring 2 members and the turret, so that's something.
Yep. Okay, so the Surrender Vote comes through. That's why we saw everyone throwing ultimates left, right, and center. A severely one-sided victory there for Snake, and this team looking a little bit better with Crystal on the lineup, but I'm not sure whether we should discredit Martin that much because EDG and King definitely looking like very different teams this season.
Crystal's ability to lock in Sivir, which was something we knew he could do. He could mouse over the champion, but just playing Sivir, being unselfish, those 2 games were in no means about Sivir. Sivir did fine, but it was all about Flandre schooling on Cola, you putting in a very nice performance in the mid lane, even on Assassins against Korn, and just King rolling over and dying. It took a while on the first game. There was a sign of life at the start, but the moment, as you mentioned, things went downhill in this game, and honestly, that was just a surprisingly aggressive burst trade from the top lane Hecarim onto the Jinx. Literally, King did nothing from that point. Easy win for Snake, easy 2-0. You add 3 points onto your score, and King, they're just looking for looking for bodies to start to replace some of the dead weight.
Yeah, they're trying to find at least someone to get something done, but ladies and gentlemen, we are going to move away from this team. There are still 3 more matches to come this weekend. Of course, there is a fair few, of course, a lot more League of Legends to come. Of course, 6 games in a row. But we are going to have a short break, and we'll be back with the remaining 3 matches right after this.